Osiris.
We're mass communicating. We're mass communicating. We're mass communicating.
Welcome back to Touchdowns All Day. I am your host, Max Dawson, bringing you a very special holiday treat. Part 2 of the first annual Plan C Touchdowns All Day Hanukkah special. In part 1, we shared with you such rarities as the 1992 Down to the Bottom demo, a number of recordings by Zec C, the precursor to the Disco Biscuits, performances of embryonic versions of Biscuits' favorites, and a rendition of one of the band's rarest and most sought-after songs. Plus, Plan C archivist John Goldberg shared with us previously uncirculated recordings, including a number of soundboards that have never been heard by the general public. In part 2, things are going to get even more out there as John brings to us demos and studio recordings of a number of songs, including beloved Biscuits favorites and a number of songs that never made it out of the studio in the first place. Before I bring John back out and we get back to the music, I'm first going to share with you a brief interview I just did with the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Cash or Trade, Dusty Rich. Maybe you saw last week, Aron and Mark did a fun video on Instagram with the folks over at Cash or Trade to announce a new partnership between the Disco Biscuits and the first social network where fans can buy, sell, or trade tickets at face value. Now, Cash or Trade is not a sponsor of Touchdowns All Day. I was just genuinely curious about the nature of this new partnership. I wanted to sit down with Dusty and learn more about Cash or Trade and how it's helping Disco Biscuits fans and fans of a lot of bands deal with all of the scalpers, the sellouts, the bots, and everything else that makes buying tickets today a big hassle. So I'm going to bring out Dusty. We're going to talk about Cash or Trade, and then we're going to get to what you're really here for, the rest of our Hanukkah special. And believe me when I say, John has picked out some really, really cool stuff to share with you. Dusty, welcome to Touchdowns All Day.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
So Dusty, I'm old school. I remember the day when you want to go do a Disco Biscuit show, you gave a very large man in a very small t-shirt $5. And if you were under 21, he put an X on your hand. Things have obviously changed, and we're increasingly seeing the big shows sell out. And as a result, the hardcore fans, the people who make this community what it is, are getting shut out of the shows they want to be at. And even worse, when this is happening, I'm starting to see scammers and scalpers who are trying to take advantage of the intense passion we all have for the biscuits. So how does Cash or Trade help out in a situation like this?
Well, that is precisely why my brother and I felt empowered to create a platform to unite us all. And when you talk of the early days, and I remember Disco Biscuits in the early 90s, that was a time when we filled out newsletters or to get on a fan list to get mail order tickets. And then it ended up turning out that we would go to record stores or to go buy tickets, or you'd even find a Ticketmaster in a Filene's. What a wild time. And that's what buying tickets look like. Like you said, a guy would mark your hand at the door. And so at the same time, what did scalping look like? It looked like somebody in front of you in line would buy a couple extra tickets and you see them in front of the venue. And that was scalping. Well, fast forward in the 2000s, from 2003 to 2009, there was a digital kind of revolution that happened. Everything went online, whether it be the iPhone just emerged, social networks, ticketing went online. So now what? Along with this opportunity comes in people that are willing to exploit it, buying mass quantities of tickets at scale and then anonymously relisting them on the resale platforms. And so when my brother and I saw this, we said, okay, well, what can we do to create a place that could unite a community of fans, like Disco Biscuit fans, and we were big fish heads at the time and still are. We said, okay, we know that around 2/3 of the fans are a lot like you and me, who for some reason just can't make the event. And we end up with a couple extra tickets and we just want to get our money back. Now, that is where the problem it really was identified. So you're like, okay, well, let me go to these resale platforms, and they're chocked with brokers who are scalping high quantities of tickets at inflated prices. So you think that that's actually the price that they're going for, and it's not real. Those are actually the prices that some people might buy them at, but not all of them. And as the event date gets closer, the brokers, they make their money off their 1%, and then they're forced to liquidate them. So they start dropping the prices, and as the date comes closer, it's too late, and a lot of these seats are empty, and the venues are losing, not having losses at the concessions. You have the artists who are losing. The real fan isn't in the crowd, who's streaming it, and telling their social networks about the amazing time that they're having. So the artists and the venues are losing, and the fans are losing. And that's where we were like, okay, what can we do to try to pull the community together to rise up and build this face value ticket movement? And it wasn't just started within the fans. It also attracted like Brownie and the rest of the crew of like saying, hey, as artists, how can we tell our fans about this network where you can trade and buy and sell trade tickets at face value?
Well, I love it because it's very consistent with the sort of values, being old school. It used to be you'd never charge someone a penny more than what you paid for a ticket. And in fact, the whole concept of giving away a miracle and getting a miracle was one of the rites of passage of being a jam band fan. I know that you guys talk about ticket karma. What's ticket karma?
You would score a ticket to a show from a fan and be like, wow, I'm so grateful. Thank you for hooking me up. They would come back to the platform and message each other. Hey, I'm looking for a ticket for tonight. And you say, oh, wow, you hooked me up for last New Year's. I've got tickets for you for face value for you and your friend, your family to go to this New Year's. I have an extra. And they would go on and they would find each other through past conversations and make those transactions. So this karma would start to build over time. And now because of Cash or Trade, we started in 2009, and it's been a long time. And it was a passion project before it was a business for over a decade. People would build these relationships. So you'd have friends and fans who'd been connecting for years and hundreds of shows. And the tickets would flow back and forth and back and forth. And I think as we're scaling into other genres of music, it's really great to see. And you'd be surprised how many return visitors find, they become faithful to the community. A lot like you'd embody in the parking lot.
Who are some of the other artists that you guys are working with in the jam community or beyond?
So we've partnered with Under Oath, a heavy metal rock band. We've been called out by The Cure as a solution for face value tickets on their last tour. We've been working. Now we're moving into theater and some of those events, and then country artists, folk artists, Tyler Childers.
That's so cool. So give us the nuts and bolts. If somebody has tickets and they want to either trade them or sell them, or if you got shut out of the pre-sale or a show sold out, how do you use cash or trade to solve these problems?
Well, we've created this platform and really simplified the ability to come on and list if we don't have an event on, we even give you the option to add the event. But you simply make a post, you say what you have and say what you want. It will immediately send out alerts to all of the fans who are looking, and they set up alert. Hey, second a show sells out, they come to Cash or Trade and say, I set an alert, say, hey, alert me of any fans who are selling these tickets. So that's step one. They set up an alert. Step two, when another fan posts it, they get notified and they can pop into a chat and they can commit to it. Now, it's a lot like Airbnb or Uber, and a lot of fans might say, well, I don't want to engage in having a conversation. Why can't you just buy all the tickets on Cash or Trade? Well, why isn't just a shopping cart where I can click and buy? Well, then you'd have a scalper model where scalpers can come in and transact on high quantities of tickets. A lot like Airbnb, the host has to accept you, or Uber has to actually accept your ride. So it gives the seller a chance to review the user profile, the buyer, and say, okay, look at all your reviews. You look like a trusted member. You're a gold member. You're supporting the platform. And they choose out of maybe 10 of the people that said, I'd like your ticket, choose them. They can commit. Then they can transfer right through the platform. We hold the money in escrow, protecting the transaction. And once the tickets are transferred through each other, then the escrow monies are released. And we back it with a trader protection. But that's a simple process. And what we are doing is we're partnering with primary ticketing companies to integrate an API that can cross-check the price on the primary market to validate the face value, and then also be able to transfer right in the app and never leave the platform. So that's the process.
What are the fees? Who pays? How do you pay? Do the fans need to subscribe or become members to use this service?
Sure. We found a model that works unlike any other model in this resale market, which is you can become a gold member for $4 a month. And all gold members can transact on the platform for zero fee, which is great. They love that. And you're buying a face value ticket. So that is one tier of the monetization. The second tier is if you choose not to contribute to building this face value movement in the platform, then there's a 10% fee on a face value ticket. It's the lowest in the industry. And we are also the only resale platform that is free for sellers. So if you go on to any resale platform in the industry, usually it's 35 to 40% fee on the buyer end. It's also 15% or more on the seller's end. So you could even try to sell a ticket at face value in the secondary and still come out at a loss. Now, a user can think about it like, hey, how many tickets do I buy in a year? Do I want to become $4 a month? Or do I just want to buy this one ticket? And for $10 on a $100 purchase, that makes perfect sense for them.
Well, Dusty, thank you so much for explaining the whole platform to us and the concept of Ticket Karma and the face value ticket movement. Super stoked that you and the Biscuits are partnering, and what better occasion than the New Year's run at the Fillmore in Philly. If you guys got shut out or are looking for tickets, or maybe you got tickets and can't make the shows anymore, strongly recommend you head over to Cash or Trade. Look what they've got going on over there and kick that ticket over to another fan who's going to put it to good use.
And I will say, we just met with Brownie and Aron. We did like a little fun reel video with them about Cash or Trade. They were amazing, and what an honor to work with them. And it's kind of great to see them off stage, and they're so funny and candid and good energy. And I send my gratitude out to them and the rest of the community for embracing the face.
Dusty Rich, Cash or Trade. Check him out, guys. All right, now what we've all been waiting for, part 2 of the Plan C Touchdowns All Day Hanukkah special. Welcoming back to the show, your friend and mine, the keeper of the Plan C Disco Biscuits archives, John Goldberg. John, first half of the special, part 1, focused primarily on early live performances with a demo mixed in. But if I understand correctly, what you've got for us in this part of the program is a lot of studio material.
Sure. So, like I was saying earlier, over the years, a lot of recordings have made their way to me through friends, through the band, and so on. And so soon after New Year's 2005, when Alan joined the band, I obtained a demo of a new song. And this new song is A Great Abyss. And I'm pretty sure this is a demo that Aron made, although we would have to maybe fact check that. But it kind of blew me away. It was a time of change for the Disco Biscuits. Alan had just joined. The New Year's run was great, but it was still a lot of unknown. What was the band going to sound like? What was the future of the Disco Biscuits? And hearing the Great Abyss demo completely restored my faith. Not that was ever shaken, but just kind of, made it clear that this band had a great future ahead of them with a new drummer. And so this was, like I said, I got it sometime in January of 2005, before Abyss was debuted. And so it was debuted in February 06, I think in Denver, and in the middle of a Nughuffer. And I believe it might have been webcast, and I was watching it at the time. And I was like, oh my God, they're doing it. They're doing it. And sure enough, there's this huge Abyss debut in the middle of the Nughuffer. And so, yeah, it was just this awesome recording that I got that it just made me so happy that things were going to be okay. More than just okay. So yeah, it was really great.
So this is the Great Abyss demo from circa 2005. All right. In keeping with our Hanukkah theme and trying to limit ourselves to 8, I'm going to do a weird thing where I'm going to count like 4 songs as one day of Hanukkah. So we're going to stick with early 2000s demos. John, you told me a fun story about this next track that I confirmed with Magner, got a little bit of extra context on, but why don't you tell us the story behind your next selection, Stuck in the States?
This next track is something very different from everything else we've listened to so far. So Stuck in the States was a studio track that the Disco Biscuits, I think maybe it was really mostly Aron, but members of the band worked on with someone named Simon Holton. And so Simon Holton is one of the co-founders of Twisted Records. And so in 2006, after Camp Bisco at Hunter Mountain, which saw Younger Brother perform. After the festival, I think that the Twisted guys had some issues with their visas or something, and they couldn't leave the States. And so I think that they just ended up hanging out in Philly, where the Disco Biscuits had a studio at the time, and were just messing around. And they created a track which they ultimately called Stuck in the States. And so it's very much a Twisted Records psytrance song. And just very different from what the Disco Biscuits were doing at the time.
Well, let's have a listen. There are things in the Plan C archives that I don't think the band even remembers doing. And I know this, or I suspect this, because of this next track. As again, I was seeking the band's approval to include some of these recordings in the episode. I went to Mark and asked if we could play the next track. And his exact words were, "This is maybe the first time in my whole life that somebody's telling me something about the Biscuits, and I have literally no recollection of it, even after listening to the recording." So John, please tell us, what is this track that stumped even the man who made it himself?
So in the years leading up to Planet Anthem, the band was prolific in their Philly studio. There's hundreds of outtakes, songs, ideas, little snippets. Some of them went on to become real songs, and some of them just kind of got forgotten forever. And so I obtained a whole slew of those over the years. And this one has always just stood out to me as being very catchy. So this is a demo from, I think it's from 2007. When I received it, the file was called Applesauce. And so that's what I've always referred to it as. I don't know if that's what it was officially. I don't know if that's what they called it when they, recorded it. But this is something that I have just always loved, being a big fan of Biscuits dub and just reggae in general. This one just kind of jumped out to me. It's this really cool reggae groove. It's got a short Mark verse with him talking about hanging out outside the Trocadero. But it has just really been something that I've always loved. Occasionally I'll make comments and say, "Hey, play Applesauce." Now I know they have no idea what I mean. So, maybe I'll have a shot now. But it's good to know that I've been yelling into the wind.
Well, here is that track. Call it Applesauce, call it whatever you want to call it. Here it is.
Baby, come and say it in your own way. No, no, no. Baby, come and say it in your own way. And when you do that, baby, come and say it in your own way. No, no, no.
So in there you hear the No 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 sample from the Don Penn reggae track, which would make its appearance more recently as a sample that Magner has dropped into dub jams this year. So full circle moment, the applesauce resurgence. 2025 could be the year of applesauce, John.
That would be amazing.
All right, let's round out night 7 of Plan C Hanukkah with the last demo from this period that you've selected.
All right, so the next track is a song that I think that the fans have been clamoring to get the band to play for quite some time at this point. And so this is a track that's only been played 4 times, and one time was Tractor Beam in 2007. And so that meant there was no lyrics song. That incarnation of Tractor Beam was just basically instrumental. And so this is a demo from that time leading up to Planet Anthem, and it is Glastonbury. There's actually multiple versions I have of this. This is the version with Mark's vocals. So it's pretty fun, and it'd be great to hear them play it.
Well, John, for the 8th night of Hanukkah, you picked for us another either uncirculated or undercirculated. You'll have to clarify for me, live recording from the band from, I believe, 2007. What is this one that you've picked out for us?
For the most part, I would say that like 99% of the shows from about 2006 onward have been recorded and have been made available at some point. Obviously there's some shows that had technical difficulties, and so there are some gaps. And so one of those is a show from October 25th, 2007 at Toad's Place in Richmond, Virginia. This is a show that was part of a really great tour amid like a really good week of that tour. And unfortunately, the first set in it didn't get recorded. I don't remember the exact reason. I'm sure there was some kind of technical difficulty. And unfortunately, that first set includes a shimmy, cyclone, shimmy, which everyone always raves about. So unfortunately, I can't share that. I would love to. But what we do have is the second set. And so the second set never got released because, we were only releasing full shows. And so what I picked today is the Helix or Helicopters into the End of 42. There was a track from this set that I did release, I want to say 15 plus years ago. I think we put the C to B from that set on either an original incarnation of a podcast for the Disco Biscuits, or maybe it was just a track we played on their website. I honestly can't remember at this point, but this section though has never been played before, and so this is Helicopters into the End of 42.
John, I feel like now is a great opportunity to ask you about a hardcore biscuit fan's white whale. Corey C., the man who saw 365 consecutive biscuit shows. He has been for years looking for a recording of October 20th, 2007. Do you have any insight that might help Corey out in his search?
So that's a show that, so I believe that the bus broke down that day. And so I think that the crew managed to get to the show. Like, they had to take an alternate method of transportation. And so not all the gear, and specifically the recording gear, didn't make it to the show. So there is no soundboard that night. But there was reports of a taper at the show. And for years, I've tried to track down this taper. I've gone to, Minneapolis taping groups to see if I could find someone. You know how it goes, trying to track down like a recording that someone who probably wasn't a big fan of the band, but just like the tape shows, went to the show and recorded. And it's kind of been lost to time, unfortunately. We tried to track down the person soon after the show, and we still couldn't find him. So, so unfortunately, that show's out there. I think there's supposedly like a really good basis at that show, I think. But it's unfortunate that there are some gaps.
Well, we might have to hire a private investigator or something to track down this guy. Or if any of you are in Minneapolis or the Twin Cities region and have any connections to tapers out there, hit us up, because Corey has really been searching for this show for years. He posts every year on the anniversary in case someone might have turned up a lead. John, are there any other notable missing pieces to the Plan C archives? Any other shows that just like this one, that try as you might, you haven't been able to fill in a gap?
I would say, there's definitely shows that we don't have soundboards for, which obviously it's not like those are just going to show up, unfortunately. But for the most part, I think that we have at least audience recordings of most shows. There's only a handful, like the ones we just talked about, that just don't exist. And definitely, unfortunately, not anything that is like monumental for the band's history. For the most part, we have all the big shows for sure. Now, of course, when a recording can't be found, that builds the myth around the show. So who knows? Maybe that Minneapolis show really is one of the best shows of 2007. We just don't know. But hopefully we'll find out one day.
Well, John, we've made it through the 8 days of Plan C Hanukkah, but you may not know this, John. I have of mixed heritage. So growing up, I celebrated Hanukkah and Christmas. So in honor of our Gentile friends, of whom we have many, I've brought for you a few additional gifts in this holiday celebration. These are of a much more recent vintage, and they come from Joey and Aron from October, as they were working out the details of the band's Halloween performance, a live improvised score to accompany the 1968 Stanley Kubrick film 2001. Many ideas were explored, many of which I was somewhat disappointed did not come to fruition, though I have no disappointment about the ultimate performance that night. But they had some really cool ideas that they were exploring, working on in the studio, that didn't quite find their way to stage. But however, we do have these little demo sketches of those ideas. So let me share with you first a version of the Blue Danube Waltz, as Aron and Joey were envisioning it might be played when the band did their live 2001 score. And to close things out, one more demo from the 2001 sessions. Here's Magner exploring some ideas for the scene when Hal is taken offline and out of commission.
My mind is going. I can feel it. My mind is going. I can feel it. My mind is going. I can feel it. My mind is going. I can feel it.
Very cool. It's just neat to hear that stuff.
John, did you have a chance to listen to those cavern shows? And I guess just in general, how caught up are you on 2024?
So I am making my way through the year. Let's put it that way. I, had been a little bit distant, and just not because I didn't like what the Disco Biscuits were doing. It's just life circumstances, things changed, and I just really couldn't focus on Disco Biscuits all the time for a while. But, but with the Nugs app and having access to everything immediately, I've just been, people probably take that all for granted. I don't, though, obviously, because I understand what goes into making that happen and how difficult that was in the past. So, but just really being able to listen to everything the next day and having it all conveniently in my hand at all times, it makes it really easy to start catching up. And so I've been doing that and, really been loving a lot of the stuff from this past year. Haven't listened as much to Fall Tour, but really love a lot of the stuff from early in the year. Looking forward to hearing the rest of the year, though, as it unfolds.
Any favorites of the new material?
As far as songs or jams, I would say I really, really liked, I think, the Shocked from Silver Spring. There is just this one part, and this is the way I am with Disco Biscuits. It's not like I need a whole 40 minutes to really capture my attention. It could be like 30 seconds of Barber, and there's a point in that jam where it kind of really slows down. And that's always been something I love. When it slows down, you can really hear distinct notes, and Barber really picks his notes deliberately. And there's a little section in there that just captured me like that. It just really drew me in. So that I really liked a lot. I don't know. I just love the whole concept and how everything's developed over the last few years. I am a science fiction nerd at heart. And one of the things that's been interesting for me is over the last several years, I read the Expanse book series. And so, it's like basically a space opera, about these guys who are traveling around and, saving the universe. And it's just the parallels while these songs were being released. That's just like, this just works for me. And wow. I do a lot of reading and listening to music at the same time. So the theme really, really captured my attention. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm just super, super happy and proud of the Disco Biscuits and Joey for, just this whole resurgence and just the prolific, songwriting. It's just really amazing. It just makes me excited for what's to come, because with the Disco Biscuits, it's like the songs are what lead to the exploration, and like as they get more and more comfortable with the songs, it's just going to get better and better. So it's just really cool to see a whole new crop of material, because for me, that's the thing that excites me the most, and it always has. Like whenever the band had new material, I always wanted to hear it. Like just that. Like I just want to hear new songs. I remember there was a show. Many of the fans will remember. You might not remember this, Max, because it's from 2003. They played a show at the Silo, and they were playing 5 shows, a little run. It was, I think it's September of 2003. And I could only go to the first night. And I knew that they had prepared like 6 or 7 new songs. And so one of the only times I can remember them doing this, I know they've done it a handful since then, is I was like, can you just play all of the new songs tonight? Because I'm going to be there. And so they did. They played, and it was just like, it was like a bunch of new covers. I think that was when they debuted Safety Dance. And, I thought it was great. I don't know what the fan reaction is in after the fact, but just, I always just love hearing the new material.
Wow. I'm looking at that set list now, and it is just debut after debut after debut and originals. There's a first time played of Fever, Moshi Moshi Jam, Therapy.
Yeah, it was just like this crazy night, and so like I just loved stuff like that. So wow. And so like the recent show with all new songs, I thought that was amazing. I love stuff like that. So yeah, just excited that there's just new material, and that everyone's just so excited again. It just brings me back to certain periods of the band's history where, it was like, they're taking over the world, and it has that feel again.
And you would know, John, you've been someone who has been there since the late 90s, who's listened close and who's contributed a tremendous amount to this band and their legacy. So thank you so much for joining us on Touchdowns All Day. I am hoping that this is the first of many episodes where John and I will get to share music from his collection. We've already started talking about ideas for his next appearance, and I can't wait to go deeper into the Plan C archives with him. John, thank you again, and come on anytime.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Exploring the archive, every time I go looking, I find things that I had forgotten about. That's the beauty of having 20 plus years of history, is that there's always something you've forgotten about. And it's just like, wow, I can't wait to share this with someone. So thanks for the opportunity. It's great.
Touchdowns All Day is an Osiris Media production. This episode was written, produced, and edited by me, Max Dawson, and mixed and mastered by Matt Dwyer. This and every episode of Touchdowns All Day would not be possible without the contributions of many women and men, including the Disco Biscuits road crew: Ben, Pat, Nick, Brian, Rich, Dane, Amin, Herm, and Tara Gracer, our photographer. The band itself: Mark, John, Aron, and Alan. Ben Baruch and Andrew Kaplan at 1111 Management. The Touchdowns All Day Advisory Committee. That's Andy Bazzani and Mike Walsh at the Biscuits Internet Project. Russ Tabes, Dave Cook, Scott McClintock, Rich Steele, Ian Armstrong, and our newest members, John Goldberg, John Polites, and Colleen Stern. our multimedia producer, Alex Mazer, coaches Joey Friedman and Steve Martocci, and of course, extra special heartfelt thanks to Lisa Gutwillig, Deb Brownstein, Angelica Magner, Sandra O'Quinn, Andrea Rivers, and Avery McMahon. On behalf of John Barber, John Goldberg, and the entire Touchdowns All Day family, this is Max Dawson saying see you next time.
We're mass communicating. Mass communicating. Mass communicating.
Osiris.